Hi, thank you for the invitation to present at ICIP 2020, the IEEE International Conference on Imaging Processing. I want to start by apologizing for not providing captioning. The ones I can afford, those from Google Slides, do not fare well with my imperfect English. And also, I apologize for the uneven background here. Um, Again, my infrastructure doesn't allow me to keep a better, more uniform background. So logistics out of the way. I am here today to talk about educational communities of practice for an inclusive artificial intelligence. I am Laura Sion. I have a PhD in biostatistics, also a master's in public health from the University of Iowa. Um, Essentially a biostatistician, but depending on who you are, you may understand better if I tell you that I'm a health data scientist. I am an academician, a researcher at the National Research Council in Argentina, the University of Buenos Aires. And then the next three items here that follow have some uncommon names that from my community involvement, my community of practice involvement. I ask you to bear with me. I will be talking about these communities in the rest of the presentation. So one of my commitments and work in communities of practice is to have been the first non-founder promoted to our ladies global leadership team. I'm also the Carpentries instructor and trainer. And finally, I'm a co-founder for Metadocencia. So it's no news for anyone that artificial intelligence presents unique opportunities as well as challenges for our societies, and that there are serious flaws reported about the way AI is developed and operates, posing serious risks to citizens, governments, and business alike. And particularly today, I am bringing one example that it's featured in this article written by Abeba Birhain and Olivia Guest, Towards Decolonizing Computational Sciences, that even if you are very familiar with the problems that AI has, I really ask you to read it because everything in it is very, very important. Essentially, here in this tweet, Aviva summarizes it saying that computational and cognitive sciences are built on a foundation of racism, sexism, colonialism, Anglo and Eurocentrism, white supremacy, and all intersections thereof. And in this particular article, there's figure 2 here, where there's three pictures, three photographs from Aviva, and where she shows the effects of the pixelizer, one of the latest apps with artificial intelligence, where you pixel an image and then the artificial intelligence decides who is behind the image. And as you can clearly see here, this artificial intelligence not only thinks Abiba is white, but also it thinks it gives us output that Abiba can be can may not be a woman. So issues around fairness, transparency, and reproducibility mean AI can exclude and harm people. So there is a sore need of diversity in human resources behind artificial intelligence. There's likely what I should show you about the pixelizer would have not have gone through to publication if a more diverse team would have tested probably, or a more diverse data set would have been used for it. But we are having these products because the lack of diversity in the human resource force behind making artificial intelligence happen. On the other hand, there's also, we know, a shortage of human resources, such as scientists and engineers with the skills to create fair, open, and reproducible AI technologies. And as if all of this was not enough, most formal education is updating its curricula at a slower pace than artificial intelligence are put in production today. So today I'm bringing one way to try to solve this through inclusive communities of practice. So, and now it's where I start defining the terms that I used in my presentation. The first one, the first community of practice I came through, it's called Our Ladies, which is a worldwide organization that promotes diversity in the R programming language community via meetups and mentorship in a friendly and safe environment. And what do I mean by friendly and safe? Well, Our Ladies, one of the key features in Our Ladies and the next communities I will be presenting, and all the conferences related to these communities, is that the existence of a code of conduct, which is essentially some basic agreement on how the humans that participate in these spaces treat each other. And essentially it says, well, you will treat each other well. And if someone doesn't do that, you have a way to report about behavior, and so more people can intercede and make it safe for you and friendly. And it's quite basic. I mean, so basic that some people say, well, we don't even need that. We're adults, right? But it's a given that once such codes of conducts are put up and enforced, then incidents stop happening. I mean, they are really a lot lower cases when you have a code of conduct and the rules are set up front than when there's not. So, and what's Our Ladies? Well, essentially, it's women and other minoritized genders helping each other in a safe and friendly space. And this, well, it has an educational side because Our Ladies has an informal educational side via meetups and given tutorials, teaching. There's a lot of open materials shared, high quality, and for free. But also there's networks and trust built, like pretty much like the GIF here, where one woman brings up another is showing here. And the network that this community has generated shows quite well because this is a post by David Alva in BuzzFeed last year, telling the story of how a multi-million-dollar startup hid sexual harassment incident by a CEO. Then a community of outsiders dragged it into the light. And this is telling about the platform that teaches data science skills called Datacam, whose CEO sexually harassed a member of the R community. And well, um, all the you know we try to protect the victim and everything. So the Our Ladies community started talking about this, and then the rest of the community follow. And this couldn't be the sexual harassment couldn't be hid anymore, and it went public. This doesn't happen in communities that are not friendly and welcoming and safe. So, okay, you may be wondering, I am watching this because I am interested in education. And yeah, this is great with, I'm all for gender inclusive communities in tech. So wasn't this talk about education? Well, indeed, it was. It is. And through Our Ladies, I met the Carpentries. The Carpentries is another community of practice, educational in this case, that exists for more than 2 decades now, that has exactly the same principles as Our Ladies. It's safe, it's friendly, it has a code of conduct that is enforced, and where uh, foundational coding and data science skills to researchers worldwide are taught. So And this, it's nonprofit, it's open, and if you don't know it, it has a lot of materials, high quality materials online that I I encourage you to look for. And it's not only a community of practice. Last year, I mean, it's a community of practice that is really linked to the academic world and to the research world at a point that the Carpentries is featured as one of the few settings for best practices in education and training to be able to approach the problems of reproducibility and replicability in science that there are. And it was featured, the Carpentries were featured in this consensus study report by the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine last year. So Carpentries has a model, uh, a nonprofit model, where main universities in North America, Europe, and other parts of the world are reaching out to the Carpentries to have the Carpentries steward how you teach these skills for data science and artificial intelligence uh, to your students. So it's really big, and it's a community of practice. You know, the same principles as I comment for our ladies. So very inspired by the Carpentries that before teaching coding and data science skills, starts to teach instructors who teach this how to teach these skills. So it's inspired by the Carpentries that teach how to teach before actually teaching data science skills. We founded Metadocencia. Metadocencia can be translated from Spanish to English as meta teaching. Uh, and Metadocencia is an initiative that, well, teaches to teach, but in Spanish. Last mid-March, with the need to switch every class from in-person to online in Argentina, where we don't know when in-person classes will resume yet, some friends from the art community and I co-founded Metadocencia. Our mission is to nurture a community of Spanish-speaking educators by teaching concrete, evidence-based, and student-centered educational methods. We collaboratively develop open, reusable, and accessible resources to foster effective training practices. You may be wondering why there is a need for metadocencia when there are so many open educational resources about teaching already available. Well, on the one hand, most state-of-the-art resources and communities around them are majorly in English or are English-speaking communities. On the other hand, English is an enormous barrier in Latin America. So translations of contents are not enough for cultural responsible teaching. Meeting our learners where they are in Latin America means to not make assumptions about the knowledge of technologies such as Zoom, Slack, or Google Docs, and being conscious about internet access and accessibility differences. And this applies to engineering and computer sciences. It's not only educators at large. So in the last 7 months, we've reached over 1,200 Spanish-speaking teachers across 19 countries. The same strategy of teaching how to teach we implemented very fast in Metadocencia has been implemented by other non-community-based initiatives, such as universities in the US. There is a huge need for this type of educational action, as this map is showing here. Uh, in academia, we most of the times we are in front of a class and nobody taught us how to teach. So it's really important, and it became evident when we had to go from the in-person to online setting. So what do I mean by teaching concrete, evidence-based, and student-centered educational methods? Well, what we teach in Metadocencia, it's a 3-hour hands-on workshop where Metadocencia participants get to experience and practice simple and basic principles such as don't assume that your student has a computer, an internet connection, a peaceful space where to study or good mental health. Ask them, communicate with them, particularly in this pandemic setting. Other things we teach is, well, don't try to beat a recorded video. We all know how difficult it is to get a video right from scratch. Call on people by name during your class. Don't teach alone. Try to have always someone with you online. So if your internet goes down, you don't leave your students alone. You don't leave your students alone when in person. Try not to, leave them alone online either. Use accessibility tools to help everyone. So nobody ever complained about having a font too big in screen. Or using high contrast, or using speaker notes in your presentation so they can be read by screen readers. Use breakout rooms. This is particularly easy if you use Zoom and lately Meet. Take a break every hour. This is one of my favorites because it's who can sit for more than 50 minutes and keep their attention intact, right? Even if you have a very active class, we can only take 1 hour at a time at most. So these are really simple, as you can see, like really kind of the obvious kind of principles. Um, but when you get to practice them on a hands-on workshop, they become easier to implement, and they come extremely helpful to have events and courses and classes online that are more participatory, that are more active. These are only a few. There's a lot more of these that we teach, and you may have already noticed that these are not only for online teaching. All of these also are great tips for teaching in person. And once you learn how to teach effectively, then you can really build up skills on data science and artificial intelligence. And all of this knowledge, it's out there for you in communities of practice that are friendly and safe. So I cannot recommend more to be aware of these communities and join them. So all of the Metadocencia's activities that I mentioned were possible thanks to our team's volunteer time and a $1,000 US grant uh, from the Open Bioinformatics Foundation that supports our Zoom, Calendly, and other infrastructure. So in this link, you find all about Metadocencia and how to contact us if you're interested in this initiative. And thank you very much for your attention.